what is the ultimate objective of secular leadership? Certainly, you can come up with many different definitions. One that I think is pretty reasonable is you do that in secular world, try to influence people so that you form certain culture to accomplish common purpose. So I put up the IBM as an example, and you see the left side, these nice looking gentlemen here, and then what do you see in the background? They all look the same. Different figures, facial figures, but they look all the same. What this device is called slide rule. So from engineering world, that's like pocket calculator. Before that handheld pocket calculator came about, and some of you have never seen this, I have never seen it. So it was even before my time, but if you go to museum, engineering museum, you will see this. And that's how people calculate it, and called slide rule. IBM made that. And so when IBM started, I'm going to read some facts here. When IBM started 1911 as computing, tabulating, recording company. How boring is that? As a company name, computing, tabulating, recording company. But that's how they started. 1911, and they made slide rules and industrial time recorders, so people go in and punch the card. Somebody had to make it, and it's a humble start. But they lasted, over 100 years. And this is one of the supercomputers, latest supercomputers called Blue Gene. Gene, not in blue jean, but Gene, Blue Gene, that came out in 2009. And President Obama declared or awarded this supercomputer as National Medal of Technology and Innovation. So how can a company, a huge company, as you know, how can this huge company last over 100 years, started very humble, but going through all the tough times? You know how supercomputers rise and demise. How many of you know Cray computer? Okay, I know I'm talking to business majors. Cray was the supercomputer during the 1970s and 80s, surpassing everybody's imagination. So Cray was like Apple now, back then. Very high power boutique, crazily innovative computing company. They are gone. They don't exist anymore. They lasted about 20 years, blipped and then went away. Capability-wise, IBM couldn't compete with Cray, but they sustained. So what made them successful? And don't take my word for it. In 2010, Fortune magazine ranked IBM as #1 company for leadership. And it is still number 15 most admired company in the world. And get this, second best global brand. I think #1 is NASA. but still, you know IBM is recognized. Not probably as day-to-day Apple or Facebook like that, but people who care about the computing, high-power computing, they know what IBM stands for. Well, it all started from the chairman back in way back in 1924, around that time. So this chairman, let me just read this, IBM way. you may know this. Generous incentives, so generous incentives to the employees. A focus on customer service. An insistence on well-groomed, neatly well-groomed, dark-suited salesmen, and an evangelical fervor for instilling company pride and loyalty in every worker. They use interesting term, right? Evangelical fervor, instilling company pride. So we all know in Korean version is Samsung man, right? Korean version is Samsung man. If you're going to get into Samsung company, you made it. If you go to IBM, I heard this from one of the business class that I took, although I didn't go to business school, I took some business classes. You don't have to tell anybody, new employees, what to wear, especially during 50s and 60s. You show up at company, maybe someone like you. You show up in very nice casual dress, and you know instantly, oh man, I got a wrong dress here. Dress code. Everybody wore white shirt, dark colored suit, well-groomed, crew cut, short hair, and everybody had black ties. So immediately you know that you're out of place if you wore something different. Within 2 or 3 days, that new employee went out and bought dark suit and black tie and white shirt and fit into that culture. That's the point. It's the culture that this chairman was trying to formulate and cultivate, and that's the IBM way. It didn't go away. They're still probably way up there in customer service. So think about IBM. There are many different types of leaders. Again, this is just Jaiwon Shin's list. You may come up with many different ways. But we have a lot of different types of leaders, certainly dictatorial leader. I'm not talking about Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un here. But there are many dictatorial leaders in the workplace. There are a whole bunch of authoritarian leaders. I think you'll understand dictatorial leader very quickly, but what is authoritarian leader? Let me give you one example. About 2 years ago, there was this article in one of the business magazines about Goldman Sachs. And maybe you heard about this joke. Now, it's not a joke, actually. it's really what happened. So Goldman Sachs had this, let's say, I'm just making up the number, 10 new employees. And this partner of Goldman Sachs, right before right before the Memorial holiday, the Friday afternoon, called a meeting. So 10 new employees show up in the meeting room and sent out their email. So they all showed up at Goldman Sachs, the conference room. 6 o'clock in the evening, the partner didn't show up. 10 o'clock at night, the partner still didn't show up. So they were just waiting. And they think about that. It's a Memorial holiday, weekend, going into weekend. So these people had their plans. They had to cancel all these plans and to be in the conference room. 10 o'clock till midnight, this partner didn't show. So 2 people left. 2 people said, what is this? This is too much. I canceled my family vacation, I canceled this and that, and he's not showing up. This is crazy. 2 left. Those 2 people immediately got fired. That's what I would call authoritarian leader. That's the culture of Goldman Sachs. we got your soul, you got your body, we got your life. I'm paying you great bucks. You are mine. So do whatever I tell you to do, and just your company property. So if you go to a Wall Street and investment companies, I know a few, they cannot sit still because they always worry about this thing buzzing, BlackBerry or whatever buzzing. And I had this one guy visited with me. We were having dinner. It was one of those long weekends. He works in a small merging and acquisition company in Wall Street. Early 30s, making $400,000. And the company sends a limousine to his apartment in the morning and bring him to the office, brings out gourmet restaurant food for lunch, do all the laundry for him, haircut if necessary. He goes home close to midnight in again, chauffeur-driven limousine. Same thing, come back next morning. So he got this rare opportunity to take a few days off, came to me, and it was middle of dinner, and this thing buzzed. So he looked at it and said, oh, geez, I got to get back. That's the life of these people. And it's not probably universal. There are probably pretty good investment or Wall Street companies, but many of them work like this. So to me, that's authoritarian. It's my authority that you have to follow. Overpowering leader with expertise and capabilities. You see this a lot in technical environment, like NASA. So your boss or your manager is very knowledgeable, well experienced, so they will try to overpower you with all that knowledge. And another way to call it is micromanagement. And this is a sure way to demoralize people really quickly, because employee will say, why would I put 100%? You're going to correct me anyway. And you're going to do it your way. So this is a very quick way, if you want to demoralize everybody and make just figures in the company, and you run everything, you do this way. But you got to have your knowledge to be able to do that.